Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of Movie Battlegrounds. Today we have a really cool match ahead of you. So I'm gonna get right into it. I'm not really good at hosting. Well, I haven't done it before, but who knows? They let me host. Who cares? My name is Madi. I'm gonna be introducing our competitors. We're gonna start with the guy who's actually producing this show and has produced this whole tournament. So we're gonna start with Aaron Connole. Aaron, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you? I'll put you on the right side. I'll give you
There
that
you,
one for today.
there you go.
Uh,
This is weird. I don't like this, but whatever.
it's going all right. I'm here. I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to play. Actually, I feel pretty good about winning against Chris. No offense, Chris, but I don't think I should. I shouldn't have knocked out Noah. I honestly was shocked I beat him in the first place because I thought he did really well in his previous match. And here I am, and I feel like this is retribution going up against someone I've known for a long time, someone who I actually played before back in the day and lost to. So how's that for a first rematch? I only ever played like 3 matches, so of course I'd get somebody I've already played before. Uh, and if I somehow win, I'm 1 match away from a title shot. None of this
Which
makes me feel good as a competitor or a producer.
the, honestly, this is wild as hell. Like, I don't think any of this makes sense, but hey, it's here. It happened. There's video proof earlier on the channel if you guys want to go ahead. Uh, but no, like, I mean, obviously, this is getting one step closer to a title shot. Does that, like, give you nerves at all, or are you just like, all right, I just got to go through this guy and then see what happens?
This is going to sound really weird. Not nerves in the sense of like I'm nervous about approaching a title, but nerves in the sense of because my mind is in two conflicting places. As the guy who is the lead producer and director of the league, it would be awful if I'm the first person to win the title coming back on it. Like that just seems like a bad thing for everyone.
I mean,
But
hey, if it ends up working that way, what can you
but
do,
I
right?
I also have enough self-respect for my league that I'm not going to come in here and tank my own performances, which I think is why I've won twice now. So this
Yeah.
is just kind of what it is. Henry is the strongest opponent I've faced, but I also know the most about him, so I kind of have an idea of where he's going to come from on this. It's the benefit of playing someone you've often talked about the strategy of the game with a lot.
Right.
So listen, what come my way. I'm just shooting to not get knocked out.
That, you know what? That's all we can ever hope for. So I'm going to send you to the back, and you already introduced your opponent, but his name is also in the title card, so you guys weren't really surprised. Henry, what's up, bro?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. Aaron and I go way, way back, and these questions are wild, and our answers are wild. So the approach for this entire match can go one of a million different ways, and I'm prepared for at least a couple of them. So I'm curious to see how it goes, but I'm excited. It's gonna be a blast, and I love debating, so I'm just glad to be here.
You do love debating. That much I think we can say back from the first couple days that Aaron started getting people to debate when we were all on that fucking video together. But you said it like you're excited about some of these questions. Is there anything that you were preparing that you were like, am I actually going to argue this? Like, is this one of those things where you're just like, what the hell am I doing in this league? Or was it just like, this is really fun?
My approach, it's really fun. So I'm curious to see Aaron's approach because I don't know his approach on a couple of them. So it's kind of like a gray area where I'm like, I know what it could be, but I don't know if that's what it's going to be because it could be the obvious, but like Aaron doesn't really follow the obvious. So I'm
True.
curious and I'm excited. Like I said, I'm gonna say that a bunch because I'm just glad to be here.
That completely fair, man. Obviously, again, you win this, you get a step closer to a potential title shot. Hopefully, it's me, but we'll leave that until after a few matches, see how that goes. Is that something that's in the back of your mind, or are you just going, you know what, one step after the other, and then see where we go?
Well, the thing about debate is honestly is all you can do is prepare for the now, and you have to be fully invested in the now, and that's what a lot of people who don't do so well in debate find out the hard way.
Right.
You can bullshit your way, a long way, but by the end, to be like the ultimate debater and be a top tier one, you have to be well rounded and you have to be focused. So it's one of those where if you're looking 2 steps ahead, you're not looking at now. And like my last match, yeah, granted I got it in a knockout, but it's because I didn't take my opponent lightly. I prepped hard, and I brought my A game, and my opponent did a really good job and made me sweat, as you saw literally in the video. So just because you get a knockout doesn't mean it's going to be easy. So that's how I approach everything, and we're going to see what's going to happen.
That's Master Debating 101 from Henry Confidential over there. We're going to bring up Aaron. There we go. Perfect. Already done. So, gentlemen, I'm going to explain the rules to you guys. You guys should know the rules by now, but if you don't, I'm here to remind you for them. So, it is the best of 5 rounds. First player to 3 points wins the match. Each round is worth 1 point. And if you get the first 3 questions in a row, or the second, third, and fourth questions in a row, you win by knockout. Wait, that's not right. No, whatever. They can edit this out in post. A tie after 4 rounds will activate the round 5 blind round. The competitors... Is Henry still there? Okay. The competitors have prepared 4 rounds of questions, and I have the secret 5th round question. Henry is manifesting something with his candle. Who knows?
Oh, this is going to get...
This is going to get... When you guys hear question 1, this is going to get very sensual.
I figured I would set the tone.
Setting the tone. Perfect. And speaking of... I want you guys who are parents to put the kids to bed, because this first question might get a little spicy.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's just go on.
Yeah, fuck it. You guys know the rest. Question number 1. And I don't know who came up with this question, but it's a question that exists.
Technically, you came up with the question. He came up with the concept, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll take it from you to explain. This is something that would only ever happen in a match where 2 guys that work behind the scenes are playing each other. This was a question that I previously gave Henry, or a version of it, in a match that unfortunately never happened because we lost Grant. And when we were in the setup of this match, Henry and I joked about, let's use it, but have us play it, because we both already known the question.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that happened. So, I'm sorry, America and the world. Go ahead, Mitty.
Cue the graphics.
Cue the graphics. What franchise needs a 50 Shades of Grey style spinoff? Now, I'm going to let you guys at home take that in for a second, and we are going to start with... Who's going first? I thought I had this written down, but I don't have it in front of me. We are going to start with Aaron. You are going to get 1 minute, and take it away, man.
Officially, good luck.
Officially, good luck to both of you, and good luck to people at home to make it through this round.
All right, here we go. Okay, so this is something that I have implored previously as a producer. Don't just hear an answer and automatically make that decide where you're going to go. Give me a chance. My answer is the Muppets franchise, specifically a sequel to the 2011 Muppets film. Now, yes, I understand that the Muppets are this childhood sanctity that so many people hold near and dear, and the idea of making a sexualized 50 Shades of Grey spinoff is like mind-burning. But here's the thing. The 2011 Muppets brought the Muppets back and made them relevant, and the kids of today didn't care. The franchise has continued to squander its potential ever since, and it's only still popular to the people who grew up with it that are now adults. So I think the best way of reinvigorating this franchise and meeting the qualifications of the question is to go in a totally different direction that appeals to the people who still love them.
And time. Wow. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. But all right, the Muppets is what Aaron is wanting to get in. I don't know. I'm not going to make any more jokes because I feel like that's going to affect the argument. Henry, we're going to go to you next. You have 60 seconds, or as the kids call it, 1 minute, when you start talking.
All right. So when you think of 50 Shades of Grey, the first thing you think of is sex and sexualized content. And what else do you think of when you think of sexualized content? You think of horror. So I'm choosing the Friday the 13th franchise, because the reason that I'm going to mesh these two together is because when you the trope of going out into the woods, it's played out. Or the camp, the summer camp stuff, it's played out. No one really does that nowadays. So I'm going to spin it off, and I'm going to create a new franchise that's Friday the 13th theme, but it's also going to start off with the sexual no pun intended, comeuppance of what we're going with here with a group of sexually frustrated couples that decide to come together, and they are going to, let's say, couples therapy. And in the mix of the couples therapy, murders start to happen, and you get the mystery, and you're starting to really get afraid of for ourselves, but it also builds the bonds of the couples at the same exact time. So horror and sex, perfect combo.
And time. I know I'm not the only one who heard him say whore instead of horror. So, you know what? Let's just move on. So, Aaron, we're going to go to you for your 2-minute rebuttal / second entry. And again, time starts when you start talking.
All right. So let me start by listing all the reasons that this potential spinoff could actually work. For starters, R-rated Muppets is an idea that people have been playing with for a while. Jim Henson's own son made The Happy Time Murders, which, while the execution of that film was not well done, the actual concept wasn't a bad idea. Secondly, if we're making a sequel to the 2011 film, all of the talent that worked on it behind the scenes have experience in R-rated filmmaking. Director James Bobbin directed 17 of 18 episodes for the Ali G show and was a lead director and producer on Flight of the Conchords. Writer Jason Segel has spent the large bulk of his career working in R-rated comedies, including Knocked Up, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Bad and Bad Teacher, and Nick Stoller, who directed 2 of those films with Segel in Sarah Marshall and The 5-Year Engagement, also directed the Neighbors films and helped write them. So these guys have extensive experience working in R-rated films. Secondly, your stars all have experience doing stuff. I've already talked about Segel, who did go full frontal in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but Amy Adams herself has done tons of films where she is a sexually forward character, and she's even done nude scenes and famously went topless in American Hustle. She also had The Master with Philip Seymour Hoffman, where she was comfortable after reading in a script with the idea of her having to perform fellatio on Philip Seymour Hoffman. So again, you have a group of people that are very ready to go. Also, for what it's worth, the Muppets are puppets with giant holes in their ass, so they're just kind of primed and ready for sexual things. And who doesn't want to see the relationships that we've grown and loved over the years with these characters, whether it be Gonzo and I believe Priscilla the Chicken, or famously Kermit and Miss Piggy come together? What's better than frog legs and pork links, right? Let's just make it happen. You have the talent there. I'd say, in my opinion, bring back Zach Galifianakis, who previously cameoed as Hobo Joe, and give him a bigger role, because, again, he's worked with these types of films. And, I mean, who doesn't want Hobo Joe in a sex film? But the talent is there, and the idea is one that's ripe for the taking to do well.
And time. Good Lord. All right. Henry, your 2-minute rebuttal starts when you start talking.
All right. So like I said, the old concept of the Friday the 13th is it's dated. No one goes to summer camps. No one cares about that. So when you're going to the concept of couples retreats, where the couples therapy, you're not only going to have them in a understandable scenario and environment, but you're also going to build some characters, and you're actually going to get some backstories for these characters. Because guess what? In horror films, what is the biggest complaint, other than potentially, boring and not enough horror and kills and all that stuff, is the characters. So what you build up in this kind of setup is you're going to build up some characters that you get to know, and you also get to grow and love. So every time that they're taken out, you're going to feel it. And that is one of those things that you're going to really be invested in this franchise. Because it's not like we're pitching a one-off. You're pitching a spinoff of a franchise. So you're probably going to have multiple. So what you're going to have in this is you're going to have 3 different couples that are going to be working their own issues out. So that's mostly the first act of this movie, is they're going to be building up their own, their backstories and their relationships. They're going to be playing party games. They're going to play a bunch of like sex games. And are they going to be swinging? Is it going to be like an orgy? You're going to have this 50 Shades style of, maybe we need to spice things up, and maybe we need to really get going in how we're able to be sexy with it. Because if you're going to have a 50 Shades thing, you really want to have an understanding of why you're doing the 50 Shades concept. So having 3 couples here that need to spice up the relationship. The concept of swinging, like I said, the concept of orgies, specifically in the bedroom. What is the most common thing that you hear between couples, in their sex life? It's boring, it's stale, it's repetitive. So if you spice it up and you're starting to do some 50 Shades style, and introduce tying up, introduce whips, introduce chains, introduce the commands, introduce the actual concept of the swinging. You all have all that. So then in the second act of the movie, when you when you get people starting to get taken out and killed, it's really going to add the suspense. So you're going to have a terrific horror movie, but you're also going to have a sexy movie at the beginning, and you combine the two and you have an epic horror movie. And that's exactly what you want from this franchise. That's going to be building up. And I have a story that's going to knock your socks off once we get there.
And time. All right, gentlemen. You know what comes next. It's the 4 minutes of open debate. So, the Muppets versus Friday the 13th in a 50 Shades style remake or reboot. Have at it, gentlemen.
All right, so I just want to say quickly, because obviously I know you have more to say and you're going to expand on it, and that's fine. But what I'm getting from yours right now isn't this film that's going to enthrall me in its characters and then get me with the kills. It sounds like this film that comes off kind of like that Jon Favreau, Vince Vaughn film Couples Retreats, but way more sex. So I'm going to be bricked up the entire first half, and then I'm going to get blue balls in the second when they just stop the sex and start killing people. There's no natural mesh here that can go through the whole film.
So what you're going to have is, obviously you're not going to, no pun intended, blow your load with all the kills throughout the entire film. So you're going to have a couple that goes out into the lake and they're going to have their sex and they're going to get taken out. You're going to have couples that are going to hang out in the woods and in the second barn, or the second, whatever, and they're the lake house, and they're going to do their own thing. And then you're going to have the couple that's actually in the house. So you're going to separate them. So not only are you going to separate them so you get to spread out the kills, but you're also going to spread out the sex, prolong the sex, elongate the sex. And also you can have a mix around too. So not only are you getting the couples themselves that are going to be having sex and doing the sexy stuff, but you're also going to potentially have a little bit of mixing up. So you're really going to have that actual sex that's going to be invigorating. Because the thing that you're going to be missing from yours, guess who likes the 50 Shades movies? Older women that love the neurotic concept, the eroticy of the sex and seeing these sexy men. They're not going to be loving the concept of puppets having sex at all. And that's not going to be turning them on. They're not the older ladies or middle housewives. They're the ones buying the books. They're the ones watching the movies. Because guess what? The people, the real film critics and regular movie fans, they're not the ones supporting these films. It's the housewives that want to see a man dominate them. And it gives them that imagination, puts them in the shoes. And you don't want to be put in the shoes of a puppet.
Absolutely. But again, what you're pitching with your film, now it just sounds like everything I've seen before. Oh, an older couple is going to go out into a lake, have sex, get killed. An older couple is going to go into the woods, have sex, get killed. Now it's what I've seen before in the Friday the 13th franchise, but without the hot bodies the previous films came with. And
no, they're not going to be older. They're going to be right in the mid-30s. Just because this is inspired by the 50 Shades of Grey franchise doesn't mean you necessarily have to appeal to that market. The whole point of a 50 Shades spinoff is you're taking something and making it sexy, right? 50 Shades started off as a Twilight fanfic. It was just Twilight and adding sex to it. It had to be rewritten because you can't legally sell something that's somebody else's product. But with the Muppets, you can take something that we're all familiar, and you can take the characters of Gary and Mary, with Jason Segel and Amy Adams, and you can make something new, an evolution of what we've seen before. I mean, these characters are characters that just got engaged. How different and unique would it be for a Muppets film to see the characters of Gary and Mary get to consummate their marriage? You can make an intensely sexy sex scene out of this with two actors that have experience in this world. On top of that, we can finally see the real depths of Kermit and Miss Piggy's relationship. Why does she continue to leave him? Is he bad in bed? Is he not willing to experiment? Because she seems like a really freaky piece of pork. What is it? We can actually explore this. Okay, so I love that you brought up two things. One, that you brought up that no one really, the concept of the Muppets is dying down, and the audience that you're trying to appeal to is the audience that loves the older one. But also you brought up the fact that the Happy Time Murders, which guess what? That was critically panned, and it also didn't make any money. So no one wants to see an R-rated puppet movie. And I have a great example of just taking the spin of that. You can do an R-rated, quote-unquote, family-style comedy, spin it on its head, and make it R-rated. Sausage Party. That was a movie that was a movie that was critically fine, and it was a movie that made a lot of money. My movie, it's not going to be older couples. They're going to be in their 30s, right in that peak, right before they hit that mark. It's going to be that housewives, that sexy housewife stuff, right in the mid 30s. And guess what? There's a lot of actors nowadays that are in their 30s or even their 40s where you assume they look younger. So it's going to be sexy. And you're also going to have the twist of my movie, which I didn't get to bring up. It's one of the ex-wives, or she's the actual wife, but it seems like it's ex-wife. She's the one that's going to be doing the murdering. And you find out in the twist end, similar to the original Friday the 13th movie that is like the Mrs. Voorhees thing. So not only does it have that intrigue and that mystery from behind the killer's eyes, that the intrigue and the brutal kills, but it's also going to be 100% the character driven. So it's going to be horror, sexy, and character driven.
And time. Well, that was a steamy round. So we're going to go on to the closing. So you guys both get 1 minute each to wrap up your arguments and say whatever else you need to say in that 60 seconds. And we are going to start with Aaron.
All right, the Happy Time Murders didn't fail because of its concept. The Happy Time Murders failed because it was a bad movie. People were interested in the idea of this movie, and then the critics' reviews came out and it got absolutely slaughtered, and that's why it failed. If the concept was done better, I think people would be interested in it. And again, as you said, the audience of the Muppets is older. Kids really aren't interested in it anymore, which means you can make something like this and not really affect the kids of today because they wouldn't have a lot of interest in seeing it. What I'm getting from your movie sounds nothing like an actual Friday the 13th spinoff. I am pitching something that uses Muppet characters, that uses Muppet history, that puts it all together with this new concept. Your film sounds like it could be anyone else. Your killer's not even Jason. You're using a different woman who had a similar experience to his mother in the first film. So it's not even really a Friday the 13th film because at the end of the day, Jason is the iconography of that franchise. Your movie doesn't sound like it meshes genre well. Your movie doesn't sound like it'll have wide appeal, and it's not even really a part of the franchise that you're saying it's a spin-off from. So I don't understand where it all fits.
And time. All right, Henry, it's up to you. Final minute of this round, and your time starts whenever you start talking.
Saying that my movie does not fit into the Friday the 13th franchise is ignorant, because if you say that, then you're saying that the original Friday the 13th doesn't feel like a Friday the 13th movie because it doesn't have Jason. It's the concept of what you're building up. This is the first one. It's spinning off the concept. It's bringing back the history of like, hey, I'm using this motivation to have these killings. It's the inspiration. You could have it where it's one of Jason Voorhees or Mrs. Voorhees' descendants, whatever. So it really fits in, but like I said, it's like a horror. It's like in the Friday the 13th where it's the sex that builds up. In the camp ones, it's all about sex and stuff, and you're building it up. And these characters are going to be even more important. With your movie, you said Happy Time Murderers. It's because of the critic review. No, it's because it was because no one cares about that. It only made a little over 9 million its opening weekend. If it was an intrigue and it was the bad reviews and the badness of the movie that is why it failed, then it would have made a lot of money in its opening weekend. Then it would have failed later on. Your puppets appeal to kids. Kids aren't going to go see it, and nobody even cares about R-rated puppets because that's just not what we want to see.
And time.
So I want to jump in for a second, not to speak, but because producing is hard when you're playing, and the pictures are a brand new thing, so I completely forgot them. So I just want to make sure the world gets to see the gloriousness I spent time creating. And we're going to get Medee's reaction live. Here's the Puppets one.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep, take that in for what you will. Take that in. And here is Henry's. Photoshop, you are my friend.
I think you're going to get demonetized for that one, but...
It's 25 minutes into the video. They're not going to watch that far. All right, we'll go to the back. We'll bring the judges in. You guys can decide.
I'm sorry, that was something fucked up. That image is going to haunt my nightmares, ladies and gentlemen. And as is that one. Although, Kermit, good on you for being a bottom. Now, I'm going to go to our judges. We got two wonderful judges here, and I'll be the third if needed. But we are going to start with Brian. Brian, in 30 seconds or less, who got your point and why?
For me, I remember Aaron. My point was his point that the Jimmy was the history. about Muppets history and how the steamy relationship between Kermit, Miss Piggy, what made her leave him so many times, and about the steamy relationship between Mary and Gary, how to consummate that relationship as an engaged couple for so long. So Aaron's my point.
So that's one judge for Aaron. John, who are you
All
going
right.
with and why?
Oh man, if I'm gonna say me now, I'll be dead already. Okay. All right. Before I make my decision, I have one quick fact check on this. It's mainly Aaron's and the name of Gonzo's girlfriend. Her official name is Camilla the chicken, not someone else. You popped that up, so
Yep, I
get
forgot to
that
mention
one
that
quick.
too.
That's fine. I'm not a huge Muppet guy, so I completely missed that. But good on you, John, for calling that out. So,
Chickens have rights, you know.
yeah, when they get to Popeye, sure. All right, so John, who's getting your point and why?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it on a straight face as far as I can.
Don't even try.
Yeah, I'm trying, people. All right. Stop my rambling. Get my point is to Aaron as well because he pointed out when the Muppets are, and basically put some reasoning behind why you put some exploitative scenes along with it. Just because even though the movie Happy Timers didn't do well critically and commercially, at least that people were curious about it. So if you
All right, so that goes 2 judges to Aaron, which gives Aaron the point in round 1. So thank you, judges. I'll send you back to the back, or Aaron will, but who cares? No one's keeping track. Henry is dead, I guess.
My breaker went out. I got to fix it.
All right,
No problem.
so
You're good.
we'll take it. All right, so that concludes round 1. Aaron taking the first point. We're going to go on to question 2, and this question comes to you from the Saw franchise. And your question, gentlemen, is what is the scariest trap in the Saw franchise? Now, we're going to go to Henry first on this one. So, Henry, you're going to have 60 seconds for your opening, as you know, and your time starts when you start talking.
So when you think of the Saw franchise, you think of multiple scenarios. Time limit. You think of the mystery of why, and you think of just your environment. So when I came to this question, my mind was like, what is the most iconic trap and the scariest? And it's the same thing. It's the reverse bear trap. The reason that this one is the scariest, which I feel like that's important, the scariest is the question. It's the scariest trap because it's up close and personal. It is a actual contraption that you're having on your head with a timer ticking in the back of your ear at the entire time, where you have roughly 60 seconds to not only find the key, but also put the key in the lock, take the trap off, and not have it literally rip your face open. So the concept of the trap as a whole by itself, without the actual practice of it, is petrifying. But also the scenario of which you find yourself when you're in the trap is scary beyond hell. The reverse bear trap is the scariest trap in the Saw franchise.
And time. Aaron, we're going to go to you next. 60 seconds when you start talking.
All right. Well, I just love the Saw franchise. It's just one of the best out there. No, I've only seen one of these movies. The first one, the great one, and I've not seen any of the others. So I had to go to the well that I knew. And out of the films in that, the traps in that film, the one that stood out as the scariest to me was the flammable jelly trap. Now, basically, the way to describe this, the way that it works is a character is placed in a pretty much dark room with only a candle for lighting. They have been poisoned while they were unconscious. There is a slow working poison in their body, and they are covered in a jelly that is flammable. And there's a safe in the middle of the room that holds a key, or that holds a cure to the poison. That's the word, poison. And basically, they have to move around the. I'll just use the 2 minutes to set it up. I ran out of time and I'm moving too slow. Can you tell that I'm confident in this one?
It is beaming out of you. So, Aaron said it best. We're going to go to the 2-minute round. Henry, going back to you. 2 minutes when you start talking.
So the reason that the reverse bear trap is the scariest is because you've seen it in multiple facets. It's not just in one movie, and it's also not just in a couple seconds of the movie. You've seen this trap at the beginning with Amanda. You've also seen it in number 5 with Hoffman. You've seen it in the final chapter with Jill. So you've actually seen it beaten fully. You've seen it half beaten with Hoffman. So Amanda, she fully beat it. You've seen it half beaten with Hoffman. And guess what? He half beat it, and he still had his face ripped off half-wise. And then you've actually seen it in full practice with Jill, where her face is disgustingly ripped open. So not only have you actually seen this in full motion of actually being used, but you've also witnessed 3 different characters totally be in a different element of how they handle the situation. Amanda, so to remind you, Amanda, she not only had to dig in her dead cellmate to find the key in a minute, but she also came to realize that her cellmate was alive and she had to kill him and dig in. But guess what? Not only is that, she's digging in his guts to get the key, but she's covered in blood. So guess what? At any moment in her slippery hands of blood, if she would have dropped the key, boom, she's done. So the pressure of all those elements that you need to come together to complete this trap is petrifying. Hoffman, a person in the movie that has actually developed many traps, and he's actually used the traps, knew how to beat this trap, and still had half his face ripped open because he was put in a lose-lose situation. And in the very end with Jill, no lose situation, but finally seeing it in full practice is totally petrifying. The reason that this trap is scarier than my opponent's is because my opponent's trap didn't really matter, you know what I mean? Because the character in that movie had honestly unlimited time, you know, other than the fact of when the candle lights out, so you run out of lights, you had as much time as a candle lights. Look, my candle's been on for, 20 minutes at this point. It's still on there. So you have the ability. So you need to calm down. You need to pressurize. And guess what? In the Saw franchise, the people that beat the traps are the ones that calm down and handle the situation appropriately. And that's what this character could have done. And it wouldn't have been as scary.
And now, Aaron, we're going to go to you for your 2 minutes. Time starts whenever you start talking.
Okay, so yes, in terms of how it's used in the film, it's a trap that you only see the very basic execution of, and it's one that was very clearly, you should be on that side, was very clearly developed as just something on a whim to be a story point so they could move the point forward. And I do agree with you 100% on that fact. But the fact that there actually is less thought into it and you don't get to see it is why I think it's scarier. So as I was saying, there are multiple facets to this trap. One, you have a slow moving poison going through your body, but you have no real understanding of how slow it's moving. And for all you know, maybe the killer is lying. Like, you don't actually know. You just know there's a poison in your body. Second, your only source of light is coming from a candle, which there are matches in the scene. So theoretically, if the light goes out, as long as the wick's still there, you can relight it. But you have this flammable jelly on your body, which means you have to be careful with how you're using the candle, because as we see in the movie, if you misuse the candle and let it get too close to you, it will burn you up and kill you. But the third element to this is there's glass all over the floor. So this is a trap that can kill you on 4 levels. It can kill you by poison, it can kill you by fire, it can kill you by just simply cutting you enough and creating enough blood loss that you would actually drop. Or, my favorite of the 4, if you survive but have sustained enough cuts, infection will probably kill your ass later. Because let's be real, if you're covered in cuts, you're probably going to get infected. The part of what you're saying of it's like seemingly infinite is also the part of the reason of why it's scary. Most of the traps in the Saw films are designed in such a way as to where there is a very clear and obvious way to get out of it. Now, that's a mechanic that works for the films. But if you take the film element out of it and look at the trap as a whole, this is one of the most difficult to escape from. Your combination to open the safe with the syringe with the cure in it is just based off a series of numbers written on a wall around you, in which there is an infinite number of numbers written, and there is no clear indication given as to what would signal out those numbers. So you basically have to move around a room of glass, just trying an infinite number combination of numbers till you either drop dead from poison or burn alive. Scary shit.
Scary shit indeed. We're going to go on to the open debate round between the two of you guys. 4 minutes, and you guys can have at it as soon as you start talking.
So the thing with yours, there's two options that make it not as scary or as impactful. Is the one, like I mentioned earlier, is if he has infinite time and he's able to actually manifest the calmness that he needs to actually defeat the trap, then you actually can get it. And it's been proven throughout this entire series, the people that win the traps, the people that want to live, are the ones that are able to calm down and make it work. The second option is if it's going to do all that stuff, then it's really going to kind of put himself in a lose-lose situation, which we've seen numerous times in this franchise where it's a lose-lose situations, and it's just another one of those throwaway ones. Whereas this one, it's in your face, on your head, 60 seconds, time is clicking, time is ticking, and you have not much time to think, and you need to act. So that is scarier.
I would argue a lose-lose situation is scarier than something that you have a great chance of getting out of. And this is a case of, obviously, we're arguing the actual scariness of the trap versus the practicality of how they choose to use it in the films. In the film, the flammable jelly trap is scary because you only ever see it once. You don't really get a good idea of how it works. You just see all these moving pieces and you see the burnt corpse at the end. And you know from looking at it, that's a very, very difficult thing to get out of. In terms of execution with the use of the bear trap, if you go even outside of the main series of films and look at the short film that was made before the full movies were made, the bear trap has been used 4 times and it's only ever killed somebody once. Now, you could say that that's because they only put it on characters who mostly have plot armor because it's all leading characters, but that thereby doesn't show you the real true scariness of the trap. It portrays it as a trap that's just really easy to escape, as every time you show it, somebody escapes. Even if someone's missing a cheek, they still found a way out of it when being put in a lose-lose situation. The only reason that kill even matters is because it's in the 7th one, and by that point, people were going, well, fuck, we've been waiting 7 films. Let's just see what it fucking does.
See the difference with your flammable one is you say, yes, the concept of the lose-lose is scary, but honestly, it's very it's unimpactful of the entire franchise. There are many traps within the entire franchise that are potentially lose-lose, and that doesn't make them scary. That just makes them obsolete. This one literally has that, in your faceness. If this character, you said the characters are important, and yes, so the fact that one of our most important characters could be in harm, that even makes it scarier for the audience. In this one, that's a character that you don't even care about. So practically, it's not as scary because you can beat it. You just don't know. Sure, that's fine, but you have an infinite time potentially to defeat this trap. But also, as an audience member, you don't even care. So you're not even scared as an audience member. Whereas with the reverse bear trap, the characters within the film themselves are scared, but also the audience is scared because you don't know what's going to happen, because it's time is literally ticking in their ears of 60 seconds or less that they need that they can really get out of this. Whereas in yours could be infinite time.
But you don't have infinite time because you have the poison moving through your body. The poison is going to kill you eventually. It's not like that element's not there. So there is a time element. You just don't know what the time element is. And that's almost scarier, because imagine spending the last remaining time of your existence locked up in a room, naked, covered in fucking flammable petroleum jelly, basically, having to walk through glass and just go back and forth and enter combinations into a safe to try and open up a safe to get your cure, and then eventually just dropping dead because you were put in a situation where you had no chance of winning. I understand in the context of the franchise how it's all about appreciating your life and the consequences of your decisions and whatever. But in terms of something that's scary, something that is more than likely to definitely fucking kill me than something that I've seen multiple people escape from is not as scary.
So, like you said, so as someone who said you can escape from, that's one of those things where there's an antidote. There's literally a light at the end of the tunnel. That doesn't make it as scary. There's hope. And just because this character that we saw in the movie didn't utilize his antidote and didn't utilize his possibilities and the literal map that he was given to the antidote, that's his fault. Whereas in the reverse bear trap, you could be given all the answers in your hands, but guess what? If you have the blood in your hands and you drop the key, boom, that you only have limited time, 60 seconds. Sure, your time's not actually infinite, but you have way more time than 6 seconds, and that is a lot scarier.
All right, so we're going to go on to the closing arguments from the both of you. So again, 60 seconds. Henry, we're going to start with you of why the bear trap, or the reverse bear trap, sorry, is the scariest trap in the Saw franchise.
So the difference between my trap and my opponent's trap is my opponent's trap. There's many elements that this character this one singular character you see in the movie that can actually defeat this trap. If they take their time on the glass, then they don't need to worry about those cuts being as bad. If they actually, get it, the code, then they're going to get the antidote and they're going to free themselves of the poison. And if they don't literally pull the fire to their body, then they're not going to light themselves on fire. There's many ways that they can get out of killing themselves. And the concept of the infection, that's a what if. That shouldn't matter. That's definitely hearsay. Whereas in mine, you literally have 60 seconds. We've literally seen characters have half their jaw rip open and their full face ripped open. And you've seen literally, even with Amanda, when she finally got taken off, the scars that were on her face. So not only does it literally on her head, but when she takes it off, the scars and the memory is going to be there. And yours, if you get out of that, then you're like, oh man, can you believe that time where it's actually probably an adrenaline rush to finally get out of that. Whereas in mine, you were literally on the edge of dying with 6 seconds left. And there's a chance you have to kill somebody to get it. And if you do kill somebody, then you have the literal blood on your hands, and that blood can cause you to drop the key. And at the end of the day, you did everything you could and you still lost.
Caught it right under the wire of the 60 seconds. Aaron, we're going to go to you. Finish off this round with your closing arguments.
All right. Look, I'm not going to sit here and try and play like one of these isn't scary. It's the Saw franchise. The whole conceit of it, especially when you get past like the first or second film, is let's develop scary shit and watch people die. But in terms of what is scariest, when we look at the concept of the traps in and of themselves, my trap has multiple facets that could kill you. And yes, we only see it once, but we see it once and it worked. So while there is a what if where someone could get an infection and survive, the whole survival bit that you keep going to is also a what if we want to talk about hearsay. Your trap is something we have seen multiple people survive. It really doesn't effectively kill people consistently. And the fact that we don't ever get to see that does make it scary. The only time it kills is in what was supposedly the final entry of the franchise, where at that point you're pissing off your diehards if you don't actually show what happens. It's a mostly ineffective trap that doesn't ever actually kill people, and something that I have seen you escape from multiple times isn't scary.
All right. That concludes round 2. I'm going to send you guys to the back, or Aaron will, and I'm going to bring back up the judges. All right, judges. So I'm going to give you about 10 seconds while I ramble to gather your thoughts. And we're going to start with you, Jonathan. Who gets your point and why in 30 seconds or less, please?
To Henry, because he explains sort of specifically how the reverse bear trap is not only torturous or scary at the same time, but you can also feel the tension along with it. If you're not in the trap or not, you do feel the tension when it shows up. So I will give my point to Henry.
All right, so that's one judge for Henry. Brian, we're going to go to you. Who gets your point and why?
Yeah, I was Aaron this round. He mentioned like how the trap Henry uses multiple films where his trap he uses one film and he mentioned all the gory stuff in his trap compared to Henry's trap. So Aaron gets my point.
All right, and with that, it goes to me because you guys couldn't figure it out on your own. I'm just kidding. I also went with Henry. My main point was just simply that we see various different formations of this trap and like how it can affect you, not only if you survive, but also on the psychological trauma that you go through during the whole event. So that really got the point for me. So that's why I'm going with Henry on this one. So thank you, judges. We're going to give this point to Henry and bring back Henry and Aaron.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, that feels right.
No,
by the way, having never made it nearly as far as Saw 7, that image was pretty gnarly when I came across it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Exactly. But you knocked it down. You even made me believe. I'm like, God damn it, dude. That's some good points. It's bullshit, and I know it's bullshit, but it's believable bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Believable bullshit. Believable bullshit should be the hashtag for this channel, honestly.
I'll take it.
All right, so we're going to go on to question 3. And question 3 is in honor of Black History Month, because we both know that these guys loved Black cinema as a category. That's an inside joke for some of you guys who might know that.
Maybe not.
Maybe. So in honor of Black History Month, in honor of Black History Month, what is the best performance in a Spike Lee joint? And for those who are not black in the audience, a Spike Lee joint is another way of saying a Spike Lee picture. Now, we're going to go to Aaron first on this one. So, Aaron, 60 seconds for your intro for the best performance in Spike Lee picture or joint, or however you want to call it. Time starts when you start talking.
Spike Lee's joints are like real joints that I've smoked. When they're good, they're great, but they can be inconsistent. However, when he's at his best, I think one of Spike Lee's strengths as a director is his direction of performance. I really think he knows how to bring the best out of actors, even himself at times. And he's not really the best actor, but he really does work in some of his films. And I went with one where he is the star of the film, but he's not the character I picked. And I'm glad you used the Black History Month as a preface, because now it's going to look real bad that I picked one of the few real leading white characters in a Spike Lee film. But I went with Danny Aiello's performance as Sal in Do the Right Thing. This film, sadly, to this day, is still very relevant and very impactful. And while I think it's loaded with excellent performances, I think Danny Aiello's as Sal is the best of his career and the most impactful, because he is the character that is truly in the middle of the most. And while every character has a moment in the film where you could say they have a do the right thing moment, I think Sal is the one with the most.
And time. Don't know where you were going with that, but you can talk about it in your...
Neither do I.
Yeah, who cares? All right, Henry, we're going to go to you next. What is your choice for the best performance in a Spike Lee joint?
So when you think of Spike Lee and you think of his filmography and you think of a character, you think of one, and that is Malcolm X. And that is Denzel Washington's performance as Malcolm X in the film Malcolm X. So the reason that the first character that you think of when you think of a Spike Lee joint is Malcolm X, Denzel Washington's performance as Malcolm X, is because of the dynamic performance that Denzel brings to the table. Now, you could say one of two things. Either A, the reason that this film works is because it's based on a historical figure, or B, that Denzel Washington is a dynamic actor. So, of course, he did great. And guess what? Putting those two together doesn't make it the wrong answer. Denzel Washington embodies the character of Malcolm X, who is an important historical figure for multiple reasons, not only for the Black community, but also just for human rights and human activism and everything that you're going to bring to the human race. And Denzel brings to the table a performance that really needs to be embodied appropriately, or else it can come off as satire, it can come off as preachy, or it can come off as hateful. But Denzel Washington has a three-dimensional performance as this role, and rightfully so. It is Spike Lee's best character or performance, you know what I mean?
All right, so we got Danny Aiello as Sal versus Denzel as Brother Malcolm. So we're going to go on to the 2-minute round, and again, Aaron, back to you. So 2 minutes whenever you start talking.
All right, so I'm going to start my 2 minutes by just getting this out of the way, because I know that we are both debaters that don't like the semantical. So I'm going to say it, and then we're going to move past it. Both these performances were nominated for Academy Awards. Neither of them won. Obviously, based on your opinion, you could argue either of them could have won in their respective year, but those are the facts. I figured let's just say it. It's a fact. Let's get it out of the way. He's agreeing with me, so that's that. Listen, you got me fucked up if you think I'm going to sit here and say Denzel was bad in Malcolm X. That would be a bigger bullshit than me saying I like the Saw franchise. But the reason that I think Danny, and thank you for subtly correcting me, because you're right, with a double L, it would be probably pronounced as Aiello. The reason that I think it's the best performance of the career is because he's one of the most complex characters I think that Lee has ever written. And I think in the modern day, it's a very important character, because I do think there are, just as how in Do the Right Thing, there are a lot of Black people that are stuck in the situations that we see those characters in throughout the film. I think there are a lot of people as well that are in that very middling position of, and especially depending on how sensitive you are to things, you know, over the years, we've seen a lot of people who say that they want to be allies and want to help, but then also kind of jump to the first thing of like feeling offense when things are said. And my principle is always, if you feel offended by someone making a comment, then maybe you need to kind of look at yourself, because you might relate to some part of it. And Aiello's character as Sal is kind of stuck right in the middle. He owns this pizza place in Harlem. It's an Italian place. Obviously, the inciting incident that starts the film is the Italian pictures on the wall and them having no Black actors on the wall. And that's his stance is, look, I like the people, I like the place, but I'm an Italian. This is what I want. And throughout the film, you see him trying to play both sides, and you see that clash within the actor and the performance of, he wants to be on good terms with the people in the business. And as he says, he's known a lot of these kids since they were growing up. But you also see him kind of having to deal and, in a sense, relating with his son, Vito, John Leguizamo's character, who is a hardcore racist. And again, I'm out of time.
Yeah. Great to end on the words hardcore racist. All right, so Henry, we're gonna go to Henry next. Sorry,
Henry would be the one to get canceled in this match.
You put me and Henry on the same screen, and somehow you're the one getting canceled. Henry, 2 minutes whenever you start talking.
So I'm glad you brought up the Oscar nomination thing, because I wasn't going to bring it up because it's obvious both his performances are great, but mine's better. But I also am glad you brought up the racism fact, because not only is that not John Leguizamo, it's John Turturro, but his character's name is also Pino, and his brother is Vito. So let's just get that out of the way. But with that said, speaking of all those character names, when you think of the film Do the Right Thing, you think of multiple characters before you think of Sal. Sure, Sal's Pizzeria is integral to the plot. I'll give you that. But when you think of the film outside of the film, you think of Radio Raheem and you think of Bugging Out because of what they represent for the Black culture and what they represent by the end of the film. At the end of the film, Sal low-key becomes an antagonist, not because he's the big picture antagonist, but just because he becomes kind of a dick, and he ends up kind of turning his back on Mookie. And it's one of those characters where he was potentially becoming a father figure, but then he turns into an asshole. And that is really sad. Whereas in my movie, in Denzel's performance as Malcolm X, you have a three-dimensional character. You have a character that starts off who kind of is trying to whitewash himself because he's trying to fit in. He's really trying to find a place in the world. Then he gets arrested and he starts to build up that hate, and he starts to develop the Muslim religion, and he turns into Malcolm X, and then he turns into what you unfortunately know him for the masses is the pro-hate, the pro-black, and the anti-white. But by the end of the movie, he becomes three-dimensional, and he has a full arc because he's become a decent person. He is a great father, and he's a great husband, and he's also a great friend. He's a great member of the community. He is not just what you see in on tabloids and stuff like that as anti-white and pro-hate. He is a character that this movie flourishes in showing his full three-dimension arc of being a great person. This movie could have gone one of two ways and either pitched him as a very pro-black character, because that's what you would want from a very good African-American film, or you could have really whitewashed him and kind of softened him and taken away the legacy that he really built up for the African-American community. This one gave you everything.
All right, got it in just under the wire there. We're going to go to the 4-minute open debate round, so you guys can talk about blackness as much as you want for a white guy and a Latinx guy. So I realize now that probably assigning this question to these two is maybe not the best idea, but also I'm having fun watching them struggle. So we're going to go to the open 4-minute debate. You guys can start whenever the first person starts talking.
All right, so I want to start off by saying, sure, it's one of the things where you mentioned that this performance is one of the best of his career. That's fine. It's a great performance, but that is not the best character or performance in a Spike Lee movie, because it's one of those characters, if you really think about it, you can insert this character into a different movie, and it's just cliche. He's good, and then he's bad. Whereas in my film, he's full three-dimensional. And yes, it's based on a real person, but in order to really embody that performance, guess what? Abraham Lincoln was a real person, and Daniel Day-Lewis brought him to life, and that's exactly what Denzel did with Malcolm X.
I would argue that, well, first off, yes, you can insert Sal into any character because Sal is in any movie, because Sal's not Malcolm X. Malcolm X is not somebody I think you could just insert into any film ever. But with that said, Sal, I would say, is just as three-dimensional as Malcolm X's character is. It's not just the simple black and white of he's good and he's bad. Throughout the entire film, you are seeing the constant duology of his mindset and his personality, right? He is welcoming to everyone, but he is hard set on no black celebrities on the wall. They're Italians because that's my heritage. You see the balance in the relationship he has with both of his sons, one of whom is completely integrated into the community and accepting of everyone, and one who is an outright racist. And you are right, it was Turturro, not Leguizamo. That's on me. But but he's a hardcore racist, and you see how on some level he does kind of relate to both of them. And then even at the end, yes, he says the N-word, and yes, in that scene he becomes an antagonist, but even then he's still being played as somebody is three-dimensional, because while you understand the actions of everything that's happening in the grander scope, you're also seeing the place where we've seen the bulk of the film be set be destroyed for something that was kind of, for the most part, out of their control, because it's not like Sal's the one that killed Radio Raheem. And so even from that perspective, and in the final scene with Mookie, yes, their relationship has been damaged specifically because of the actions of both of them, because you can throw it back at Mookie just as much, who picked up the trash can and threw it into the window. And again, wider breadth of, I understand why everything happens the way it does. But when you're talking about the acting and the characters, Aiello brings the full three-dimensional scope to a character that is more than just a simple, I'm a good guy, now I'm a bad guy.
So like you said, it's a duology. He's two-dimensional. He starts off as a father figure, and then he turns into a dick. And like I said, in your movie, he's not even the first one you think of when you're not watching the film in the beginning, and when you bring up the film, Do the Right Thing, you think of Radio Raheem, and you think of Bugging Out. You even think of Mookie because of what he represents. But when you think of Malcolm X, the film, or when you just think of a Spike Lee joint, you think of Malcolm X, because Denzel brings this character to life. There's a lot of pressure of having a character like Malcolm X, who is a American figure in history, and for not only the African American community, but also American history in general, because of what he represents throughout time. And like I said, they show different facets of his life, of being a regular man, a family man, a hateful man, and a righteous man. They bring it all together. Because like I said, they could have painted the picture of who this character is as evil or as soft, but they did a great job of mixing it, and that is through Denzel's performance. There's many times throughout this film where he gives speeches, where he shows that man of power, where he really can embody the Black community, or also just everyone, where he's talking to the press. There's many soft moments with his wife, Angela Bassett, where they're just having conversations, where he's being a husband, where he's being a father. The moment when the brick gets thrown into the window, where he has that hatred, he literally says, right now, if I saw who did it, I can go get my shotgun right now and I'm shooting the first person I see. They do everything within this film that really shows who this character is, without at the end of the movie saying he is outright evil. In your film, you're not even worried about Sal by the end of the movie. You're weeping over the loss of Radio Raheem, and you're mad at Bugging Out for starting the riot, and you're mad at Mookie for throwing the trash can, regardless of what side you're on.
I would say that iconography and memorability of a character doesn't reflect performance. Yes, you're more likely to remember characters like Radio Raheem and Bugging Out because, they have gimmicks, right? Bugging Out has a certain way that he is acted. Radio Raheem carries around the boombox and obviously is an essential character to the plot. But Aiello's performance as Sal has more screen time, and thus he is able to work more with it and deliver a better performance, despite the fact that he's not as quirky or memorable.
And time. So that was a great open round debate. We are going to end things in this round with your concluding arguments. What the hell was I saying? Aaron is going to go first. He's going to have 1 minute to close, and your time starts whenever you start talking.
Again, I do believe that Aiello as Sal is the best performance that Spike Lee has ever directed, because I think in a film that is still so culturally relevant to what we are seeing today, I think Aiello portrays a character that is in a difficult position to portray, because at the end of the day, like, again, as a white person who's never experienced anything that Black people in America are experiencing, you are siding with Mookie and Bugging Out and Radio Raheem. You are siding with them, obviously, but there is also that thought in the back of your mind of Sal is not the complete villain. He's not the antagonist. He goes too far and he does not do the right thing in terms of saying the N-word, but you also understand from his perspective as a business owner, my business is being fucked with, which plays into the larger overall theme of the film of really nothing here happening is the right thing. It's all kind of fucked. Aiello is able to bring that to the film, and I think without him giving as good a performance as he does, the movie would not work.
All right, Henry, wrap it up for us with your 1 minute closing argument.
saying that Io's performance, take that out of you, and that the whole movie doesn't work. Replace any other character who just wants to be a regular racist and just have that plot line, and you still have the main scene with bugging out, rioting and protesting Sal's, and then you also have Radio Haim's death later, and you have Mookie throwing the trash can through the window. Take Sal out of it, and you still can have those scenes. Take Denzel out of this performance, and you do not remember this film. Because guess what? The movie Selma came out, and sure, it was a good movie, and people respect it, but no one's talking about David Oyelowo even just 8 years later. People are still talking about Denzel Washington's performance as Malcolm X 20 years later because of how amazing and how iconic he is in this role. He sets the tone for who this man was in the history, not as evil, not as pro-hate, not as pro-black, not as anti-white, as just a full, fleshed-out, three-dimensional character, and Denzel Washington became a superstar because of what he established in this role as Malcolm X, because he showcased that not only is this man three-dimensional, but Denzel Washington has the chops to showcase that. Denzel Washington, #1 Spike Lee performance.
And that'll do it for round 3. So we'll send you guys to the back, and we'll bring out our judges. And we're going to start with you, Brian. I know this is a tough round, but 30 seconds or less. 30 seconds or less. Who got your point, and give me one reason why.
Yeah, this was a great debate. I was debating between one or the other, but for me, I'm going to go with Henry because he talked more about the character, about more fleshed out how his character was than Aaron. So I'm going to go with Henry on this one.
All right, so that's one judge for Henry. Jonathan, we're going to go down to you next. 30 seconds or less. Who gets your point and why?
Same thing with Brian. I would give my point to Henry because he pointed out for Denzel Washington's performance as Malcolm X and why it's a sort of three-dimensional character, and he pointed out and explained why not his best performance was Spike Lee joint, but he pointed out that it will sort of like make sure for everyone over there it don't come off as a bit preachy at points. So I will give my point to Henry. Malcolm X.
All right, so that's 2 points for 2 judges going to Henry, and that gives the point for this round to Henry as well.
Imagine losing that one where that is just the answer. It's really hard to say like it's not Denzel. So I'm glad that I was able to honor Denzel's performance.
I mean,
that's what I get for having never seen Malcolm X till this morning. So, and
to be fair,
by the way, it's not my favorite Lee film, but you were absolutely correct. That is probably the right answer. So,
yeah,
I don't feel bad about that one at all.
Let's be real. Aaron had a real uphill climb going against Denzel, who's probably the greatest actor of all time, his best performance of all time. Like, it's not an easy.
One would even say round. His best performance from a Spike Lee joint.
That does fall under the category. But we're going to move on, and our next category comes in the category of 2 people, Lord and Miller.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. See that? This is crazy. We got 2 people as a category now. We're moving up in the world. All right. So your question, gentlemen, and this one should be a fun one for those of you watching at home. What should be the next property that Lord and Miller adapt and direct? So obviously they've had Spider-Man, they've had Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, they've had the Lego movie. So they've adapted a lot of things and directed a lot of things, but now we're going to see what their next project should be. So Henry, we're going to start with you. You're going to have your 60-second opening, and time starts when you start talking.
So when you think of Lord and Miller and what their strengths are, there's 2 things: animation and building a universe / bringing a bunch of characters together. What other 2 directors would we rather trust with developing a Super Smash Bros. Animation film than Lord and Miller? So the reason that I'm choosing this is because it's relevant, because we're having a Super Mario Brothers movie coming out soon, but Super Mario Brothers is not Smash Brothers. Sure, it's the same main character and it's building up that world, but Smash Brothers is a game that everyone just wants to play with their friends and kick, boom, and you see all these characters and it's iconic. And guess what? Video game movies don't do that well. And I know my opponent's going to probably bring that up, that they don't do that well. But guess what? If you're going to trust someone to develop a Smash Brothers movie, you want it to be Lord Miller, because guess what? Reboots of TV shows don't usually do that well, but they crushed it with 21 Jump Street. Who in a million years thought the Lego movie was going to be amazing? Lord Miller made the Lego movie amazing. So trust them with Super Smash Bros, and I'll pitch it later.
All right, so we're gonna get to his pitch later. Aaron, we're gonna go to you. What should be the next property that Phil Lord and Chris Miller adapt and direct?
All right. So, as my opponent drew attention to, obviously they do have a great history in animation, whether it's as directors, writers, or producers. They've done a lot in animation. However, I do feel their work in live action is actually severely underrated. 21 and 22 Jump Street are both excellent. And obviously, while I am speaking from slight conjecture, it is widely believed and pretty provable, seeing as there's a tone difference in the film. But the bulk of the first segment of Solo, dealing with the initial mission with Beckett, was all stuff that was directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And I would venture to say that that is better than a bulk of the rest of the film, which was handled by Ron Howard. So with that said, I went down the road of a live action franchise that I think A, needs to kick up the ass and needs some new energy in order to succeed again, and B, is one that they actually almost did a few years ago. I'm going to go with the Men in Black franchise because I think this is a world that still has something left in it, and I think it needs someone with the energy of a Lord and Miller to succeed in bringing it back.
All right, so we got Super Smash Brothers versus Men in Black. That is not a sentence I ever pictured myself saying out loud. So we're going to go into the second part of this debate, the 2-minute round. Henry, we're going to go to you first. You got 2 minutes to pitch your Super Smash Brothers movie.
So what I'm pitching is, obviously we don't know fully what the Super Mario Brothers movie is going to be, so I'm kind of going on a whim here with the what if. So at the end of the Super Smash Brothers, or the end of this the Mario Brothers movie, Mario saves Peach and he's got Yoshi with them. They defeated Bowser, who stole Peach. That's generic. Who cares? That's not my movie. But I am going to start my movie, The Smash Bros, from that. And right after we just had Mario and Yoshi and Peach defeat Bowser, who, spoiler alert, had Wario steal a bunch of information and be an inside man and kind of snitch on Mario and kind of betray him. So Mario, Peach, and Yoshi, they defeat Bowser and Wario, and they blast them off. That is the first time that we're going to see that iconic Smash Brothers blast off from punching and stuff. So they blast them off, and Bowser and Wario land on a ship, and before we find out whose ship it is, they fight, and that is going to be our first official melee that we're going to see. So Bowser beats the shit out of Wario because he's no match. He's going to blast him off as a first iconic, defeat in Smash Bros. But then we find out that is Falcon and Samus's ship, who that they're going to be voiced by. Samus is good. Who, spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't know, she's a female, and that's going to be voiced by ScarJo, because the Mario Brothers is Illumination. So all these characters, all these actors have been in a lot of these Illumination. So ScarJo is going to be voicing Samus, and Captain Falcon is going to be voiced by Simu Liu, because the actor for Shang-Chi, because they got Shang-Chi. We don't know when we're going to see him at Shang-Chi, so they reached out and they're like, hey, we know Captain Falcon has an Asian descent character voicing it. So do you want to step up? And he's like, hell yeah, I'm a badass, and I definitely want to do that. So anyway, so you have Falcon and Samus' ship, who are going to kind of play like a Mandalorian and Boba Fett, and kind of like a bounty hunter role. So we all know that that's a lot of fun. We love it, and we find out on that ship that we have Kong and Kirby, who they took as bounties. So that is going to be that team. That's going to be Bowser, Samus, Falcon, Kong, and Kirby on the opponent's team. And then obviously we have Mario, Yoshi, and Peach, and two others that I'm going to tell you in a little bit.
All right, so for those of you at home who have nerd boners right now, I'm going to tell you guys, pause, come back in about 5 minutes when you deal with it, and then we'll continue this. Aaron, we're going to go to you for your 2-minute round, pitching the Men in Black live action film from the Lord and Miller duo.
If you guys need to go deal with it, pause the video, rewind back to the Kermit picture, and I got you. All right. Anyways, let's get into it. All right. So, So I'll just kind of spend most of it going into the pitch. So the first things first is I'm not going to follow the original plan Lord and Miller had of MIB 23. I came up with my own original idea, and this is based off of a mix of just random internet rumors and basically fan theories I read on Reddit based off of what a fourth film could be. And rather than straight up writing one of those, I took it and kind of created my own idea. If it sounds a little rough around the edges, that's because it is. It takes some fleshing out. But this is going to be a film that follows up on both Men in Black International and Men in Black 3. Obviously, we know the original trilogy. 2 of the 3 films are really, really good. And Men in Black International had a lot of potential. It just didn't live up to it. So I would bring it back. In this case, I would mix the 2, and I would have the actual stars of the film be Will Smith and Tessa Thompson. Smith would be playing more of the Tommy Lee Jones role, though he's not as, strict as he is. He's playing that aged, experienced agent, whereas Thompson, hot off of Saving the World and International, is a little bit more of the hot shot. I imagine her being similar to kind of Jay in Men in Black 2, where she's a little cockier and she kind of feels like she has everything under control. Emma Thompson would return, who was obviously in 3 and International, and basically we would set up this mission where it would be revealed to them that the Men in Black have the ability to go into space, and they need to go to a planet called Aris, and that they would be bringing a prisoner back to Earth. This mission is hugely important, so they are merged with the European branch. We would get to see Chris Hemsworth, but because he is running the branch as established at the end of International, he wouldn't go on the mission, and we would get 2 agents coming over, Agent C, who was played by Rafe Spall in the previous film, and a new character played by Agent Z, named Agent Z, who is played by Daniel Radcliffe in my film. The 4 of them would be the group that go off into space. I think this is a group that could have a really interesting dynamic. Obviously, C and M, who is Tessa Thompson from the previous film, know each other, so they already have an established dynamic. C is kind of taking on that Hemsworth, or Z, as Radcliffe is taking on that Hemsworth role of being the hot shot, and J is just kind of aged. He's seen all of this before, so he is kind of the mentor of the group.
All right, so we have our pitches, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to go into our 4 minutes of open debate. So, gentlemen, Super Smash Brothers versus Men in Black. Have at thee.
All right, so I want to quickly continue with my tease, as my other 2 characters is Mario, Yoshi, and Peach. They're going to look out into the forest. They're going to see 2 people fighting. It's Link beating the shit out of a little kid, and we find out that little kid is Ness. And the reason he's beating the shit out of Ness is because Ness is kind of like a street rat, like an Aladdin type, voiced by Taron Egerton. And he tried to steal some stuff, and they fight. So all of them go to fight. They realize no one's trying to kill each other. Oh, we're all good. So that's team 1. That's team 2. The problem I have with your film is there's a lot going on, and then there's the expectations of how are we? Is this a reboot? Is this a requel? What are we doing here? So there's going to be potential a lot of retreads of what we had in the past that didn't work out, or it's a lot of what ifs and building up the future, and it's just a lot going on. It's very convoluted for a live action film. Mine's animated, so you can do a lot, but they've proven that they can handle a lot with animation.
But I mean, you want to talk about convoluted? You're setting yours up as a sequel to a film that already exists, and I'll get to why that's an issue in just a minute. But yours has to literally introduce and establish multiple other characters from multiple other franchises as a part of this world and deliver backstory, which is a lot for a film. I've already straight up said mine is a sequel. Men in Black 3 and Men in Black International take place in the same continuity. Emma Thompson is in both. Mine is a sequel that takes the best aspects of what's left from both franchises and mixes it. And of course, I'm bringing in Daniel Radcliffe as that new element to the group, because I think Radcliffe is an actor who, if you've watched any of his work over the last few years, I think legitimately does have chops. He's more than just Harry Potter, and he's actually quite good in comedy. And we have not seen him have that chance to really shine in something that is excellent. And I think Lord and Miller could be those directors to get that best out of him.
So the thing is,
I would say yours is more convoluted than mine.
So mine's not convoluted, because when you think of Smash Brothers, you want a bunch of characters that are going to end up fighting each other. All their backstories are simple, because you have Mario and Yoshi and Peach and Bowser. Their backstory was set up in the previous film, so you don't even have to worry about that. You have Link and Ness in this one, where they're street rats. It's very simple stories. You get to know their personalities with their quips and their action, and you get to know as fighting, because you realize they're not trying to kill each other. So everything that they're saying out loud, that's kind of giving away their backstories. You have the Samus and the Falcon backstory of you actually have a flashback of how they captured Kong and Kirby for their bounties. So you get another action scene that's Smash Bros, which is amazing, and that's what people are coming for, a lot of fighting. So you're getting all this fighting, but you're also getting some backstory with it. And then by the end, you get a third act battle, which is Smash Bros. It's all these characters, 5v5, and that's exactly what you want. Everyone's pow, 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 action, boom, 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 characteristics that you know them for. Whereas in your movie, you're building up a lot of stuff. Like you said, you're bringing the old from Men in Black 3 and International, but guess what? No one gave a shit about International. So there's no really good stuff that's going to carry over. Sure, Tessa Tessa Thompson is a great actress, so yeah, you're bringing over a good actress, but story-wise, you're not bringing over anything that of any merit, of any that you care about. And the other Men in Black stuff, clearly they didn't continue that franchise because you don't care about it. You're beating a dead horse. And like I said, with the live action, everything with that Lord Miller did live action-wise was small scale. 21 and 22 Jump Street, they're small scale. It's high school and college movies that are going in. You're involving space, aliens, and all that stuff, and that's just a lot to handle for live action for these two directors that just quite haven't done that.
21 and 22 Jump Street also feature large-scale action scenes with full-on explosions. So despite the fact that they are smaller films, they also feature broader-scale action sequences. You're also forgetting that while we did not see the final product, they had all of 3 weeks of production done with Solo. And according to reports, Disney were happy with the film. It was Kasdan who was not happy, and Disney chose to go with legacy over giving the directors their chance to bring the vision to life. And that's why they were booted. So they have experience in directing large-scale sci-fi like this. We just never got to see it. But based off what we do see in the film and what we can infer based on tone was theirs and what's Howard's, their stuff is better than his.
So I love that you bring that up with the Solo stuff, because if you say that what they brought with Solo was all theirs and it just carried over, no one really cares about Solo. It's already forgotten. So you're not really bringing it. And everything you said with 21, 22 Jump Street, sure, there's explosions, but there's explosions in B movies with a $5,000 budget. It doesn't cost that much to explode something in the background. It starts at the large scale of what you're saying, but the universe and aliens. Mine, with everything that they've proven with animation, you can bring all these characters together. I'm not even bringing that many characters together because it's going to be part of a franchise. You're just building up these 10 important characters, and you give a lot of the backstory with a lot of the flashbacks in the fight scenes with dialogue, a lot of quirks, a lot of comedy, and you bring in everything together. No one wants Men in Black. No one cares about Men in Black, and these guys just aren't going to do a great job with it.
On time. All right, gentlemen, that was the last 4-minute debate round that you're going to have to do today, depending on how the judges go. But first, we have to do the closing round. So we're going to go to Henry.
Aaron.
And Henry, you have 1 minute. Yeah. Henry, you have 1 minute to close.
My mind's crazy.
We can let you pee, and then I'll just.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Fire, like the background right there.
All right. So you have 1 minute to close your argument. Time starts whenever you start talking.
All right, so like everything I said with Men in Black, no one really cares about that property right now, and there's a lot of pressure for them to carry on a part of this franchise that no one even cares about. So the pressure of you're already peaked and valued with this franchise, so there's a higher fall if they screw it up, because not only are they potentially screwing up their careers by ruining a very beloved property, but they're also ruining their opportunity to direct another live action film. With my film, you're building up these characters that you know and love. You don't necessarily have to utilize the lore of the video game, because there's no story with the Smash Brothers video game. You're developing a brand new story, but you're also bringing the personality of these characters in the voices. You're having a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of fun. You're getting the action. You're building the set pieces. You're having all the stages that you love, and you bring in. And you have the Captain Falcon's ship. You have the tower that you have at the beginning, and then I didn't even mention this, but my third act is going to take place on Final Destination. You're going to have all these iconic scenes and stages that you love from the video games, but you're also going to have brand new characters. Well, not brand new characters, but brand new brought to screen characters, because they're going to be handled well, because Lord Miller has proven that they can handle many characters and many beloved ones.
All right. Aaron, we're going to go to you for your 1 minute closing.
You want to talk about Lord and Miller taking over a franchise that has a lot of fanfare and property behind it? That is Smash Bros. And one of the things that fans of video games really deal with when it comes to adaptations of games they love is they don't like seeing films that miss the point. And the problem with your film is, yes, while you do have cool explosions, it sounds like you're just getting a slideshow greatest hits of just inserting scenery and backgrounds, but you're developing characters that don't really sound like the characters that are in the game. Personally, I think Smash Bros. Is something that just isn't adaptable. It's such a difficult concept because, again, you're limiting the characters. What people love about Smash Bros. Is the huge expansion of characters. So saying we're paring it down to 10, that's not really getting the heart of Super Smash Bros. You're not getting what people would want. Men in Black is a franchise that I think people would be open to seeing coming back. As I said, people love the first film. The third one was also really well received. People didn't care about International because it sucked. Lord and Miller have shown that they can take franchises that nobody cares about, like Jump Street and like the Lego Movie, which no one gave a fuck about, and they made an excellent film out of it, and I totally think they can handle the large scale of this movie.
And time. Oof. All right, that does it for the arguments that we had scheduled. We're going to send them back and bring the judges forward. Jonathan, we're going to go to you first in this heated debate. And I know it's going to be tough to pick a winner, but in 30 seconds or less, who gets your point, Henry or Aaron? And also, why?
Henry with Super Smash Bros. I think he sort of lay out what the movie could be, and a more linear to that, and then some counterpoints of Aaron's for why Men in Black. I don't think the franchise sort of needed coming back anytime soon, and kind of discard some of the things that why you bring back some parts of the film that people weren't a fan of to begin with. So I will give my point to Henry.
All right, so first judge goes to Henry. Brian, we're going to go to you next. Who gets your point and why?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with Henry on this one. He brought up like major points for his film, and with Aaron didn't really give enough information on how Men in Black film be good. So I'm gonna go with Henry on this one.
All right, so that means this round goes to Henry. And with that said, and your winner with a score of 3-1, Henry Sanchez. Henry, how are you feeling?
That was tough, man. Holy cow. So I know Aaron in general is a good debater, so I would never take nothing away from him in that regard, but he's also a great bullshitter, like I said at the very beginning. And there was a few times in this one where I'm like, the judges could get caught up in the things he's saying. It's not really like that good, like really, but it sounds good. You know what I mean? And he was even convincing me on a few. I'm like, oh my God, I know I'm winning this, but also I don't hate his points, not because it's right or wrong. It just sounds good. And I feel like a debate I would like to see in the future is Aaron versus Jay, because I just know that they could definitely bullshit the shit out of each other and just have a blast and yell, fight, and just have and be creative and be weird. And this was a blast. Shout out to Aaron. You don't just run a debate league without having quality debate skills, but also a love for it. And you can tell that as much as he likes to kind of neg himself, he is a great competitor. And if he didn't run this, he would put more effort into it, like as a full-time competitor, and he would be someone to watch out for, and almost was in this one. So shout out to him.
For sure.
I can't wait to see what he does next.
Speaking of what's coming next, your next match is going to be against Sean Hunter. Do you know Sean? Or,
yeah. So fun fact behind the scenes in my match against Grant that didn't happen. My character that I was gonna do was Justice for Sean, because Sean beat the shit out of Grant that match, but unfortunately the judges disagreed. So I was going to give a lot of love for Sean and and win it for Sean in all this prep that I did against Grant. So I'm definitely honored to play him. Obviously, he made it this far despite that unnecessary loss to Grant, because he's a good competitor and I know what he can do. So as always, I'm going to take him seriously, and I'm hoping the questions are something I like, and I can definitely have passion behind it, because that's when I do the best, when I can have passion behind it, because I don't really bullshit. I just bring the heat, and hopefully the judges agree, and hopefully Sean makes me sweat.
The sweaty pits show up again. I did also want to say, I mean, the final score of 3-1 doesn't really tell the story of this match. You guys both really brought it. Was there anything that you were surprised that came up from Aaron that you were like, damn it, I wish I'd thought of that?
In the Saw debate, because I know that he didn't really have much to go for in terms of lore of Saw, but he was able to knock down the fact of, it got escaped a bunch of time. That's not that scary. I'm like, yes, for like the ignorants who don't know the Saw franchise and the actual context of the trap, that sounds good. So yes, that's what I was sweating about. I'm like, God damn it, that's way wrong, but it sounds good. I'm nervous. I don't know how the judges are going to take it. So that was one. And also, I had no idea where he was going with this Men in Black pitch. I didn't know if he was going to go original, or if I didn't know if he was going to go 21, 23, 22 Jump Street, crossover like they were playing, and just kind of do that. So I kind of left that prep up in the air and hoping I could, banter based on what he did. And I feel like I did a good job of that. So Aaron did a great job making me want to fuck a puppet. So kudos to him.
I don't think I have any more questions after that I can put on a YouTube channel that has kids watching. So I'm going to send you to the back. Congratulations on the win, Henry. Always a pleasure being on camera with you. We're going to go to Aaron now. Aaron.
We don't condone.
Apple.
We don't condone children to watch. There it is, Henry. I'll give it to you. No, there you go. Okay.
Put your tongue back
We
in your
don't
mouth.
condone children to watch. I clicked not safe for children when we upload these.
I just want to make it. I said it at the beginning, and I want to make it sure that I said it at the end in case you missed it an hour and a half ago.
If you're still
Aaron,
here, God bless
if
you.
you're still here, Aaron, it is a tough loss. Some of those points that didn't come my way, I would have given to you. But how do you feel after this match?
I listen. I feel good. As I said, I didn't want to win. Like I want to win normally, but when it reaches a point where like I'm in legitimate contention for a title, even if I eventually do, I don't want to win it as the guy that runs the league. It just feels like bad business all around. It's also the easiest way for someone to ever look at you and go, they're playing favorites. I mean, like you're setting up their matches, they're playing favorites. So the quicker I lose, the better. But no, Henry did a great job. I feel like I brought it the best I could. As I said, I was completely not confident on that saw question at all. That shit sounded way better coming out of my mouth than it did in my head. Because I was just like in my head, I'm thinking, man, that's fucking cheap. He's seen the movies. There's a reason people don't die with this thing, but like it's the best I got.
I'm giving you credit, man. You bullshitted your way out of it.
I tried. And then with that last question, I think it was just a matter of giving him a little too much room to speak. Again, coming from the mind of a producer, I'm not the type of person that likes to cut people off because I think that makes for the ugliest television, so to speak.
Yep.
And Henry is a competitor who's very good at giving people room to speak as well as getting his points in. So I was kind of playing that respect game, and I realized that after a certain point, I was kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because I wrote a whole outline pitch of what that movie could be. Like, as I said, I never even got to bring up the fact that Channing Tatum was my villain or anything like that. And that's just on me not doing enough with my time. But I realized if I continue just to pitch this film, they could knock me for not ever hitting against his. And then obviously, as what happened, I hit against his and didn't pitch my film enough, and thus they went with his anyways. But again, he also did a much better job with that time of kind of giving a more rounded view. So that just is what it is.
That's how this debate round goes, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, kudos to Henry, because of scheduling issues behind the scenes and just the mishaps that happened with this tournament. We ended up having a slot in the 0-1 bracket that was a second chance spot. And I said to both him and Austin, whoever wins this match, make the fucking most of it. And getting to the finals is making the most of it. So, good luck against Sean. I like my odds much better against who I'm playing.
You teased it a little bit. You are facing off against Matt Beer, who we, of course, all love on this channel. Is there anything in your head about what happens in your prep against a player like Matt Beer?
No, because I really don't know where Matt's mind is going to go. Like more than anyone, I feel like I don't know where Matt's mind is going to go. Like even Henry to an extent.
You and Matt know each other very well, and the fact that you still don't know where his mind is going to go.
Yeah, like even Henry to an extent, like I can see there's a sense of a systematic approach to this. I can see I can also, read through the lines on the bullshit. I can see like with Saw, I know how much he loves those films, so I know he was going to take an approach that very much had the influence of the films because he knows that I don't fucking know the movies. My knowledge is reading through Wikipedia's a couple days ago and just trying to get a grasp on it. So it's like, because I wasn't watching those fucking movies. So
you know what? No comment.
It is what it is. But look, me and Matt's gonna be another fun match. It's another old buddies playing each other. May the best man win. And again, Henry's done great in this tournament so far. He beat Austin, who just off his first match looked like one of the top rookies, and then he had a great match against Chad, and Henry said, "Set the fuck down, son." And then obviously he knocked out Kevin, and now he's come out against me. And people can talk about, and this is kind of the thing with debate is, we don't award individual points for every good thing said. So while the score may not tell the story, it does tell the story. He won and I lost, and I wish him the best of luck in the final.
All right. Well, we'll send you to the back, Aaron.
Be there for and be writing. So remember that, Henry. Remember that.
Even when Aaron's lost, he still ends up getting the final say.
Let's close this shit out. Go ahead, Madi.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone who's sticking around after all this time. It's been a lot of crap, but also a lot of fun at the same time. I want to thank our judges, Jonathan and Brian, for being here with us. And also, again, congratulations to both our competitors, Aaron and Henry, for an absolutely brilliant match. My name is Madi. You can follow me on wherever at whatever my thing is. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you probably